Hey there, I'm Sherri Clarke. I'm a registered dietitian, and I specialize in helping emotional eaters gain control over what they eat and ultimately lose weight. In today's video, we are going to talk about comfort food. But before we do that, I'm going to ask that you hit that subscription button and click the bell for notifications. That way my channel can continue to grow with your support. And also when you hit the notifications bell, you'll be notified every time I come out with a new video. I try to post at least one a week. So let's get into comfort food. This is a big problem with a lot of my clients because when we eat for comfort, it's usually high calorie, high fat. I mean, nobody likes to be comforted by, a smoothie. So it's usually, when we're not hungry, it's usually high calorie food, and it's usually followed by feelings of guilt, shame, regret, or weight gain. So when I started to do this video, I thought, okay, what really are the emotions or feelings that are going to prompt the need to feel comforted? And I was surprised there's actually a lot of them. So no wonder this is a huge problem. Just a few of the emotions that I thought. Of course, there's things like disappointed and sad. We're going to feel the need to be comforted. But what about feeling frantic or feeling excluded, feeling desperate, helpless, feeling hurt or ignored, feeling rejected or panicked or overwhelmed, feeling threatened, terrified, undervalued, upset, or vulnerable? All these are emotions that can trigger the need for comfort. What does it mean to you to feel the need to be comforted? When I think about it, to me, it really involves another individual. That if I want to be comforted, I may want a big hug, so it could be physical touch, but it could be compassion, it could be understanding, it could be a great listener who will let me talk and who will show care, compassion, who will be there and show up for me. These are ways that I would feel comforted. For me, it typically involves another individual. So think about these emotions when they trigger you to want comfort. What is it really that you need? And let's talk about why food can give us or can meet that need. As with most things, this is going to go back to childhood. Where did this start? So when our mothers, typically our mothers in the family system, our mothers will give us food, keeps us alive, right? So very quickly we develop an attachment, kind of a comfort to food, whether it be breast milk or bottle milk. You're a baby, when mom holds you, it's comforting and you are fed. So that sensation of a full stomach and a warm comfort food is established very, very early on. So now as you grow up, you may continue to be comforted by food. It's kind of natural for parents to do that, especially the mother. And I have some clients who that is the only way they knew that their mother loved them. She made food for them. She never told them. She didn't show a lot of physical touch. She didn't do other things for them, but she showed her love by cooking and baking, and of course offering sweet treats a lot of the time. So we can look back at your parents, and as you grow up, your parents may continue to comfort you when you become an adolescent into teenage years with food. So now you've laid down a habit of when you are triggered by those emotions I mentioned earlier and you need comfort, your go-to is food, because that's what your parents encouraged, and that's the habit that was laid down for you when you still lived in the home. Let's continue talking about childhood. So what if you were a kid and something happened, you needed to be comforted, you go to mom and she ignores you? Well, you still have the need for comfort. You're just not going to get it from mom. So that's an example where you could have learned to go for food. Let's say something happens, you're a kid, something happens, you need to be comforted, you go to mom. What does mom tell you? Suck it up. Don't be stupid. Don't be silly. You shouldn't feel that way. Basically, they invalidate your feelings a lot and tell you not to feel that way. That never works. When is the last time you felt really disappointed someone and somebody else said, oh, you shouldn't be disappointed in him. He didn't mean it that way. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm over it now. It doesn't work. Don't tell people how to feel. So when parents invalidate your feelings when you are a child, you still have the need for comfort. What's the easiest place to get it? In the refrigerator. So that may have been where your comfort food bad habit actually developed. What if your parents were never really around, physically, never around? Maybe you were raised primarily by your grandmother who was distant and wasn't real caring. Or maybe you were primarily raised by an older sibling who was only 5 or 6 years older than you, and they weren't able to comfort you. You kind of felt like you were fending for yourself. In those situations, again, when the need that you needed to be comfort comes up and there's nobody there to do it for you, you got to figure it out yourself as a kid. And a lot of times, that's, again, comfort is found in the refrigerator. So that's how these bad habits start. Now, as you grow up as an adult, and now you have the need to be comforted, this can be really, really challenging for a lot of people because it makes you very vulnerable. I'm upset, I need to be comforted. Nobody would say that, but it makes you vulnerable. What if I have to pick up the phone and call someone and say, can we talk? What if my husband comes home from work and he sees that I'm down and he says, what's going on? You seem down. Well, now I'm going to have to share my feelings and be vulnerable. And what if he gives me a response like my parents did? Then that's very hurtful. So maybe I just won't even go down that road. I'm just going to go to the refrigerator instead. And then when my husband gets home, he won't know that I'm down. I'll hide it. See how that works? Asking for comfort or being vulnerable by sharing why you're upset, why you're disappointed, why you're frantic, puts you at risk for feedback, to maybe to ask for something that you don't get. And it can feel pretty scary. So a lot of times we just avoid that. We're not even going to put ourselves out there like that. Instead, we're just going to eat. So why does food work? There's several reasons why food is such a great distractor when you need comfort. Number one, I think I just mentioned, it can remind you of fond memories. So certain foods can remind you of childhood memories. Certain foods could remind you of when you were a mom and you had babies, or the holidays, certain things like that. And that brings us to the next reason, which is food can temporarily kind of give a mood boost. Okay, so I was feeling down. I went in here and I made this for myself. And for a moment, I did feel better. So it does accomplish that. It's also a great distractor. If I'm really upset and I go and get in the kitchen and make dinner, I'm distracted for at least 45 minutes. And then another 10 minutes while I'm actually eating. So it's a great distractor. It gets my mind off what I'm ruminating on, what I'm upset over, what I'm thinking about. It's a wonderful distractor for that. So food is kind of a natural comforter, but it has a lot of other functions too that are helpful if you don't want to feel that emotion, which is going to trigger the need for comfort. So the key to overcoming eating food for comfort is, first of all, to recognize your behavior before you take the first bite. Pause and ask yourself, why am I eating this? And if the answer is, I'm trying to find comfort, then stop, because food is only going to comfort you while you're chewing, and then you're going to have the guilt, shame, regret, and the weight gain. So let's stop right there. And then ask yourself, what do I really need? If I need comfort, how can I get it? And is that, or does that involve another person? Or is there a way that I can comfort myself and not have to involve another person? And that is not going to be easy. If you are not used to reaching out to people, you may feel needy, you may feel unsafe and vulnerable, and that is going to take some practice. So also look into ways that you can comfort yourself. So maybe you don't always need another person to do the comforting. So think about that. In a perfect world, we would eat when we are hungry, physically hungry. We would stop when we feel full or satisfied. We wouldn't overeat. We wouldn't mindless eat. We wouldn't eat food that we know is going to make us feel guilty or that we're going to regret. So if these are things you struggle with, I'm going to ask that you click on the link below and check out my online course. It's called Feelings and Fries. It is a 4-week course, so you get modules to listen to and watch every week, and then it's a group coaching. So we have a group coaching call once a week that's led by me. We get on there for about an hour, and with other women, we talk about the lesson, what we have learned. I think the best thing that I'm seeing come from the Feelings and Fries course is the light bulb moments, the aha moments, as people trace back their bad food habits and their relationship with food and how they look at their body and how they look at their control over food back to childhood. I said earlier in the video, it all goes back to childhood, and food is no exception. So if you've never done a deep dive into looking at how these bad habits began and why they began, then Feelings and Fries is something you want to check out. The link is below. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.